We're live. I will call this August 27th, 2024 school work session to order. Dr. Arbogast.
Thanks, sir. If it's okay with you all, I'm gonna kind of move a few things around just a little bit. Just we have a visitor with us, Bob Sheeler here. He's gonna update you on the Giles High School and Eastern Elementary Middle School access roads. Some work that he's been doing, so I figured we'd move that up to the front. That way he doesn't have to sit here and listen to everything else, unless you all got questions for him on other topics. So with that, Bob, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll let you share the information that you have for the board.
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to kind of an update on projects. How do I swipe through this?
Just touch it. Double tap. Should have it. Just here.
Just wanted to update a little bit on the Macy renovation project going on. Project was broken into like four different groups. The first one was roofing, major roofing repair. We replaced all the roofing on the school. You can kind of see here on the left. That was kind of the first original roofing. You can see the insulation came off and it had a rubber membrane roofing on it. And what was going back in is a whole lot better, newer system. You can kind of see here, it's got an underlayment here that sticks on, and then insulation, and then this is the final insulation before the roofing. You can see it's a whole newer system. It's all glued in. So very well done. I would expect to see a lot different performance on the system, a lot better performance on the school. One of the things. There we go. So on, is that good?
Yeah. I guess it's the size of the picture that you have.
So one of the things that a lot more emphasis on this roof design versus the one that came off was, and I'll call this a cricket. You can see this is the gym roof, and the gym roof is completely flat, so the water slope is run off to the drains by the insulation. So they had to make the slope with the insulation, and you can kind of see here how it's nicely done. You can buy the taper insulation that was put on there. You can see here we had a little problem here. This was after one of the rain events, how it didn't quite drain good enough. So we went back in and fixed that. So you can see over here it's completely dry. So that was a whole lot better system than what was taken off, and performance will be a lot better, a lot less weight on the roof when it rains and stuff like that. So, there we go. Another thing that was done, a major part of the school renovation, is the electrical side. Pretty much all the major electrical systems have been replaced. You can see here, there's 3 main disconnects that were put in brand new. This was the existing transformer. And inside the facility room, we put in 2 new electrical panels, or actually 2 new electrical panels, and they replaced 4 of the original switchgear. So that's all been done. We did that over a phase of two power outages. One was a 1-day, and one was like a 4-day. So that's all in place now. The only thing left on electrical is chasing the HVAC system. Starts to go. The other part, and we're still working on this, is the window replacement. You can see Macy had quite an elaborate system of glass block windows. And those have been torn out, and you can see the new windows going in here too. So the new windows are a much better system. They're tinted, and a lot of good reviews on that. The performance will be a lot better too. So where we stand with that now, we're actually transitioned this crew to night shift. They're working the second shift. And, we've got all but 8 windows. I call that one window right there. 8 of those to complete. So the HVAC system has not started yet, and, but other than that, that's where we stand with the renovation.
Great.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Very well done. Had a good group of contractors there. Everybody working together good. So I was asked by Dr. Arbogast to look at a couple other projects, some access road projects, and I think this one has been sort of kicked around for a long time. The problem being with the growth of the school and the ag lab, that it's hard to get from here to back to the athletic fields and the ag lab, right? So how you get there now is kind of a labyrinth approach there. It's hard to kind of drive around and get where you need to go. So scope of the work is to try to improve access by getting a better road into there. So there were several options. One, I just kind of looked at it from ground zero, looking at what could we do. We looked at several other options, Dr. Arbogast and Dr. Brown, but we kind of came to, one option is do nothing, right? That's not really acceptable. Kind of the preferred option, I won't go through all the others, but there are a lot of ways to get to here. The one I think that you guys have been working with for a while is just a small entrance from Boxwood Lane into the parking lot. Kind of some cons on this are it is going to be at a grade. It does cross a lot of utilities, which we'll talk about. But it's kind of the shortest distance and it gets you where you want to go. So I looked at, as far as that option, I looked at a couple options here of that particular road, and kind of getting the contours downloaded and everything set up was kind of one of my challenges, but I kind of got over that. So looking at these two options, you see one of them is in white and one is in red. Option one is kind of the preferred one. Option two was one we kind of picked off of kind of an old GIS map, that there was some access there, maybe when the ag lab was built or when the water line was put in. But both of them are kind of geared around, there's a fire hydrant right here. I'm trying to miss, of course, right in the middle of what you want to do, right? There's always something. So we tried to gear both of those around that, and so this is a picture kind of standing where we want to land, right? And on the right would be option one. Here's the fire hydrant, of course. Option two would be kind of cutting in here. So kind of did the numbers on all that, and you see option one, which is the preferred option. You can see this is kind of a 3D model. It's kind of a little deceptive there how it looks. It's really a straight road, but that's just kind of pictorial of it. But in a nutshell, there's a lot of fill required on this option. It's 477 yards of cubic yards of fill that will need to be hauled into the site. The grade is not that steep. It's like 4%, which is pretty good. As far as roads go, the surface area was about 6,400 square feet. We'll talk about that. That kicks us under having to do an ENS plan and the stormwater plan. So that's kind of good. But the paved surface was 3,400. It's 125 foot long and 24 foot wide. It should be really good enough for any kind of trailers that we need to go to lab or any kind of other access. Option two was a little bit different. We kind of looked at that differently. It's a little more narrow road because of just the way it fit in around the hydrant and utilities. It's a lot less earthwork. It's only 94 cubic yards of fill. Yeah. The grade's a little steeper, it's 5%. A lot less paved area. And it's a little bit longer, it's 133 feet long, but you can kind of see how that looks. Let's talk a little bit about grades. You know, what is a good grade and what's not a good grade. So you can talk about grades in a percentage or you can talk about it in percents. Ours are in a percentage or like rise over run. So if we're saying it's a 5% grade, that means in 100 feet it would rise 5 feet. So we're kind of in a good range here. I'll kind of show you. It's not really a lot of design stuff out there, but typically there's kind of one of the, in primary roads you would not have a grade much over a 10% grade. There's a VDOT design manual that says that you should kind of keep the bus loops around 5%. So we're kind of in that range as far as the grade, so I think everything's good there. Fill material is on site, goes through that. So luckily we have fill material that's close by. The land is that we would need to cross, which is right here, is owned by the IDA, so there would need to be a purchase or an easement agreement there. So this is just kind of a checklist. And to stay with that option, I think we're under the erosion and sediment control plan for less than an acre, which kicks us out of the DEQ requirement for a stormwater management plan. Of course, all the utilities are on there. There's a natural gas line, there's a water line, there looks to be a communication line. So we'll have to call the 811 and get all those identified. Hopefully, we'll just have to deal with the water line. VDOT compliance really doesn't come into play, I don't think, because these are not VDOT roads that we're dealing with, or entering, so we're good there. I think the next step would be, if approval here, we would have to go through the Pearisburg Town Council to make sure they approve of all the things we've got planned. We'll have to do some soils identification. Already got the contour lines kind of done. That was a big challenge. I guess one of the questions is how do we, at the top, how do we limit the entrance? Do we have an automatic gate? Do we have swinging gates? I'll show you about that. And I've got one quote on paving so far. I haven't got that. And then we'd have to look at the easement with the IDA. But here's kind of just a rough, I call it a budget estimate. It could go 10 or 20% either way with a little more refining. But the asphalt, I got one quote here. It was right, just rounded up. I call it 30,000, and that's for like a 3-inch asphalt base of 8 inches of stone, which is, there's not a lot of traffic on the road, so not a heavy use. And just some other things. You see the gate with some protective bollards. It's about 12.5. So that's a big chunk of the project. So I'm thinking that's about the range that the project would come in at, assuming we have assistance from the county waterworks crew. I don't really know how they share costs with fuel and all that. I would think that would be seamless, but if that's not an extra charge, I mean, these would be the things I could think of so far to come into that. So I did get, so there's, just off the internet, I really haven't done a lot of work with this yet. There's a kind of gate I think would work pretty good. That one's 25 feet, I think, yeah, 6 feet tall. It's an automatic gate. Of course, we wouldn't have power there to power that, but I don't know if we could get a solar powered one or not yet. But a lot of options on the gate, but you see there's some room to grow there as far as cost. I don't know everybody's opinion on that, but I think that would be a prime spot to, if it was like a manual gate, I think it might be left open and you'd have access there.
You don't have a lot of trouble with that one at the tech center, do you? Or those ones?
I don't think so. I've not heard that we have. I mean, everybody's got a key fob.
One this year, 2 years here.
It's a key fob. If you've got a key fob,
That's
you
used,
got a
that's
right.
probably used more than that one, realistically.
What kind of gate is it? Is it
I think
a sliding gate?
Both the tech center, both of them are sliding, one at the front and one at the back. And they're both sliding.
Manual? Somebody has to get out and do it?
No, they slide. You swipe it and
Oh, gotcha.
it moves. You swipe the card, it opens up for you, and then you go through. And then when you're coming out, you get on the pad or in that area, and then it opens up automatically for you.
Makes sense.
Good other options. But, so that's kind of it on that. Where's my quote? 28.
I'll buy a question on that.
Any other questions on it?
2 roads back up, 2 options. The 2 options you had, if you can pull that back up.
I had on my house or something. Very good.
That one, Jay?
We go back one more, I think.
Yeah, back one more
It
later.
shows the whole thing. Sorry, one more.
The question is fire
Right
hydrant,
there.
the fire hydrant, where's the fire hydrant? No, not that next one.
Okay, go on
The
there.
option, that's
Right
right
there.
there, very good too. All right,
Here's a guardrail. We would have to actually move some of the guardrails coming to that too, but that's kind of one of the bad things.
what do we do, will you take that hydrant pipes or something?
I
But
think
I'm
that's
looking at,
it.
somebody comes there with a long trailer, they gonna go
That's
get that.
exactly it. Yes, I agree. We could either do a guardrail or put some drills, barriers there or something.
It'll eventually be somebody coming there with a long trailer, and they'll be in that fire hydrant there, closest to just the
Yeah.
road.
I agree.
That's the only thing I saw, might give trouble.
One thing too, we don't think we need a culvert here either, because I didn't show that on, so. On this side of the option, there's a drainage ditch here. So any kind of stormwater coming through here will come in and go down the natural drainage ditch. Anything here goes through a natural ditch here already, so. As far as location, it's in a great place for drainage. That spot really shines with that. So. Anything else as far as comments, improvements?
If that's easier for you.
Just a down.
You can go back and forth.
Thanks.
I guess back and forth.
All right, so the other option I've looked at, and not in as much detail as Eastern is, or the Giles Connect Road is the Eastern. So that's kind of what we're thinking about here. I know you guys looked at this before, was a road to connect Eastern to the existing roundabout there at Wheatland Eco Park. This road is much longer, it's 350 feet long. There's quite a bit of, kind of the opposite of what we were looking at the other way. It's a lot more cut material and fill. So it's actually, that's the amount of soil we need. Giles like showing us uncanny how that worked out. So there will be some extra material there. You can kind of see there's a pretty big hump before you get to the roundabout. A little bit of negative to this, if we do it straight, it's about a 5.3% grade, so it's a little on the steep side, but it's in the range. The affected area is going to be about 18,000, so that does kick us into an erosion and sediment control plan. So that's one of the negatives. This again is a 24-foot wide. It has nice inlet and outlet there. Turns. Couple issues, and I just stepped back and looked at this from a new perspective, is that if the buses kind of come out here, we're kind of putting buses into 460 outside the school zone. Does that make sense? So here's your school zone. Say a westbound bus would come out, it would be in here out of the zone. I don't know if that's really an issue, but just kind of a thought I had looking at that. Is there a place for a turn lane? Probably. So that could be done. Just a note. The other,
Can you not move the school zone up a little more?
I think you could, yeah. I think there's a sign here, I think, that says in the school zone. I know it is on the other way.
It's close.
Let's see, I don't know. Okay, so the other thing I looked at was, my first thought about it was, okay, it's kind of for buses, right? We want to get the buses out there and make the bus traffic a little easier, but we kind of load buses here, which is actually a good thing, and we would redirect them out through here. So that kind of brings the buses back into a little bit of congestion zone here and here. It would be great if we could load buses here and take them out, but that seems kind of hard to do. I don't think it's impossible, but I think and I don't know what the real scope of the project would be. Now, if you could make this exit for the parents that come and drop it on and off, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? And then kind of use this one for buses. Just kind of food for thought. I looked at another, just kind of an alternative thing. I'm not saying this is the best way, but that's one of the alternatives would be, what if we don't connect these, we just make a wider zone here and an extra turn lane here. So I'll kind of play around with that a little bit. And I don't know if I like that or not, but cut off. Anyway, could we make another turn lane here, which has its kind of some challenges too? Make that just for westbound buses. Make this one for like just cars, and then have eastbound still turning here. Again, that would take a little bit of work, but it would still maybe be a little cheaper in the long run. As far as if we're looking at the area here, it's quite a bit of paved surface. If you kind of extrapolate that out to the other quote I had, I think that was right, $9 a square. It's about $85,000 just in paving for that road. Oh, the land, looked at the land purchase. This is shown on the Wheatland Park. So we would have to either get an easement or purchase land.
She's give us a price.
Okay.
I think around 20,000.
And how much is it, like just on either side of it, or is it like one whole lot? Just for the road?
For the right way. Here's where we need for the road.
20,000.
Okay. It's 50,000 an acre, but what we need, probably 20 to 25,000.
So just kind of a checklist. It definitely would kick us into the erosion sediment control plan. I can do that. It just takes, it's a process to go through. It's some design work on stormwater. I think we're under the 1 acre, so there's no DEQ stormwater management plan. I don't think there are any utilities there, but we'd have to, I don't think we'd cross any utilities for the road. VDOT compliance would definitely come in to effect there. No Pearisburg Town Council. I think we'd have to do some soils identification. I already got the contour lines and the grade. I don't know if we want to restrict entrance with a gate, maybe?
We don't want that.
Yep. I don't think you would need as elaborate as a gate as the other one. So, the existing gate there now is like a single bar rotating, I think. Now I could get some more quotes on, or get quotes on the paving, and then you just explain the land use. I think that's pretty much what I had there. Any comments on the suggestions or?
I think that's awesome things that we hadn't thought of, that would have probably hit us in the face. Let's talk about both of these while he's still here, in case we've got any questions. I think, let's first talk about Eastern. I think number one, at least in my view, I think land purchase, we go ahead with that regardless, because we're gonna need that. Unless anybody's got any other thoughts. Because we'll have that regardless of what we decide to do, and that's, the value of that land's not going down. Number two, I do think before we completely go all in on building the road, we need to make sure that school folk, Jason and folks here, Dr. Brown, transportation, that we look at the issues that Bob brought up about getting out, how, what makes sense with the traffic flow. I think that's going to relieve a lot, but we need to make sure of that, and we need to check and see how hard it is to get that school zone moved, because I think that's going to be a more feasible alternative than spending $100,000 to build up an acceleration lane on the new entrance.
I'd be glad to look into that, so.
Any other thoughts on that one? Mr. Williams?
I think it's the best option there. I believe doing, Barbara, we usually do the, put a little lane in out there. I don't think it's gonna relieve it that much. Everybody's still crossing each other, backing up. I think all you're gonna help that problem is put part of the traffic going out on that cul-de-sac on the upper end. What I see of it.
Would you want to look at maybe rerouting the bus traffic there some way and keep?
But I believe they can do that because they let them out right there anyway on the upper end. That's the parent. I mean, when kids come out
I
there.
think if you made that a parent lot, it would be, well, whatever, yeah.
Any of them, but
I think your buses are still gonna have to go out where they are now, because them parents in that parking lot, you're not gonna get a bus turned through them parents up to that new exit route, ain't no way.
If you could use that
Well,
just
I
for the
think-
parents, you really
I
relieve
think
it.
they use the buses on the upper side, but the parents are back on the other side, coming out front. The parents pick up in front where the buses are now.
How you can't get them buses turned in the back there, Jay?
Yeah, I believe they're coming back here.
You can turn them, but it's gonna be rough.
You won't be able to turn the bus around.
That's just my opinion.
Well, I respect that, but I've turned them around all the
You
time.
don't have any covering back
We
here.
used to, you had some.
Covering on that front side for the kids coming out for the bus.
Let's look at it, what can be done to,
Yeah.
but both ways. I mean, we gotta look at it, you know. And if there is a problem, we can figure out how much it's gonna cost to fix it, you know.
Whatever it takes to fix it, I mean, whatever it takes to.
I'm with you. I mean,
It's a problem out there. We've been lucky and somebody been hit.
I think you're right, and I think we need to do what we can on it and make it. But I do think regardless of what we do right now, we gotta buy that land, because some school systems gonna want it.
I agree, yes, sir.
I think that's the reasonable price.
We'll need it in the future one way or another.
Yeah. But I do think we look at these questions we brought up, try to get some answers to that and see what else that brings up. Let's work through that, try to get something done in the next couple of months to figure out what we can do. With Giles, the entrance there, I think those are both options. I do think that the next step would be to take this to Mr. McClarney. If we're gonna need either an easement or a purchase from IDA, get their input on it with that, I think, option 2 would obviously be the best for us, but option 1 may be something that they're looking at from the IDA side, but we need, regardless, they're gonna have to give us. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I do think we should circle them in. But both of these are necessary projects that we need to get done, so.
Could that fire hydrant be moved?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that's probably would be a better
think-
option than putting something around it, because
Actually, as I understand it, where the fire hydrant is, it crosses the road and switches to the other hospital side, and that's how it goes to the hospital. So that was the advantage of the option 1 road that was upstream of that, so it didn't go over the water line, basically. But I can check into that. But it tees off right there at the hydrant and water goes to the ag lab. So it's probably gonna be right under that road somewhat there, but with Jesse's crew doing it, I think they put it in, so it's a no-brainer to have them help build the road and stuff, so they know exactly where that is, but yeah, I can check into that as far as moving it, and I 100% agree with protecting it, because somebody will whack it, I'm sure. But I'll look into those things, and timing on that one, I think we could make that happen pretty quick if, depending on the easement thing. I don't know how long that will take.
Do you think it'd be worth, we're going up there, Wednesday?
Next week, be next Wednesday.
Yeah, let's show that to the county, get that discussion started about that part, get their input on it. But probably both of those, I think we can maybe kind of the same presentation you did, if everybody's comfortable with that.
1 o'clock next Wednesday.
Available anytime.
Mr. Chairman, my boss here, what about our other two projects that we talked about in ours?
Well, that's what I was gonna bring that up. Has anybody talked to Mr. Bowles and Mr. Helvey about what the baseball, well, I know we talked about that in the spring. All right, we need to do that, so, I think that's the first step. You know, I think we know with the track, what would be needed, launch up and recap it. And to the extent there's some excavation work with that, if Bob can do that, that would be good. If not, if that sees the scope, we can shift that scene in. And then the other would be, what we gotten into, Bob, is the baseball field at Nares High School. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's got a.
Slope's wrong.
Yeah,
It's not supposed to be sloped.
What we had discussed, I mean, we got a proposal that would have been about $1 million to do what ZMM kind of conceptually drew, so, that's not feasible. But what we as a board, we're going to get them to do, and I think, let's see if we ever ask you to do something that exceeds what you feel comfortable with, just let us know. There's
No problem.
But, knowing that we would have to get the DEQ, we wanted to see what we could do that stayed at under an acre, to alleviate some of that problem. And, I know the baseball coach, there has got some ideas about it, cause he's
Sure.
been there a while. So if we could set a meeting with.
We'll schedule a time, Bob, we'll check with,
Yeah, somebody take me out there one day.
we'll schedule a time to go down there and meet them, we'll meet, we'll reach out to them after the meeting today and see what we can get scheduled. Now, I did get a update cost proposal just on doing the track at Nares High School. I asked a question, same specs as what was done at Nares High School. Same type thing we did at Giles. We recapped, the asphalt 2-inch cap on it, replaced, repaired cracks and filled the asphalt as needed. We'll need to construct a long jump runway and the pit for that. Sand pits will be need to be constructed. They'll need to move topsoil around that. They'll need to put the 3/8-inch Plexitrack lightning track surface on top of it. And then paint it and lay it out. Quote I got back, just need to keep a couple things in mind. One, they've not come and seen what the current condition of the track is, so without knowing the condition of the existing track, just pictures, it's assumed that only minor repairs are needed. 2, paving costs. Bob can tell you about that as well. That's an average annual data that they're using. They're currently seeing $200+ a ton right now. It could be $300 a ton on some projects. Again, they're basing it on doing 2-inch asphalt to the existing track on top of it. That doesn't include if they get in there and they see that track actually, what's there needs to be milled. That will be an additional cost. And some geotechnical cost there invested as well. The price that was quoted to me to have that project due to demo it, earthwork, asphalt, all that stuff I just mentioned is $696,000. That's also survey. That's also survey cost, design cost, geotechnical cost, and that sort of stuff. You can go, it's
I thought they just sent us an estimate that was $500,000 on the other part of it.
different group. You asked me to check with another group.
Okay.
This is a different one.
I'll stay now.
So, what they say is the subtotal cost, site development's 547, contingency 15% of 82, that's the total construction of 629, plus those other $67,000 of cost survey and design is 696. Now, again, if they've got to mill what's there out, you add another $100,000 to that cost.
What was EMM's estimate? Well, what's the breakdown? How much is the difference between the polytech and just the asphalt? I mean,
Looks like ZMM's without moving, I think that 726 was to move the track, because that included the wall.
they never gave us a quote on just the
Really,
one.
they never gave it, wasn't a quote, we had 496, and that was, demoing the railroad wall and that sort of, the railroad ties and that sort of stuff, so really, we never just got what was gonna cost.
Get them to just give us a cost estimate. They've already looked at this. That shouldn't be, and this should be stuff that's in there. Same thing we asked for ZMM.
Yeah, I can ask, I can get with them very quickly.
Because that, like I said, that, which would be long jump and capping and.
They got that, I wanna say, yeah, Bob and that, I mean, yeah, they've already, had that conversation, and they saw some of the other quotes, the quote from the tractor group back, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever it was, a year ago, however long ago it was.
Yeah. Look at that, have Bob, show him that while he's there, and then we can look back, because,
All that's just get a quote from Adams on it.
yeah, that's true.
Just get a quote from Adams, period. Leave engineers out of it, get a quote from.
See if you can get the paving companies to come in, but like Adams is the one that we could trust, but get them to come in and see what it costs to cap it. They're gonna know more about it than the engineers will anyway. Sorry, Bob.
Agree. No, I agree.
And if they, like you said, if they got work next summer coming in,
Yeah, if they in the area.
I think Bob could be of help, that we would need it for the long jump pit. There's some school utilities that have been put in over the years underneath the track, right there where you have a long jump pit, there's a power outlet for, just some stuff that you'll see.
Be glad to help on that, so. Anything else from me?
Sir, thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you
Excellent.
so much for
Thank you.
giving me an opportunity. I greatly appreciate it. So, come out to Macy sometime, show you around. Pretty interesting.
Reach out.
Mr. Chairman, one thing we looked at after Easter, I thought about was, have we talked about breaking the times up when let the parents come after the buses are loaded? When you mixing all, everybody trying to run over each other coming out there.
Well, and I think you bring up a great point. I think in the discussion of what we're looking at there, if you guys could consider all options, whether it be an operational change, like Mr. Williams has suggested. I mean, I think everything's out there, whether a combination of what it is, we need to be, creative sometimes in these, traffic issues. Sometimes a little change in time can really change things.
thing I have to say on is, we got a letter from Mr. Spencer, town hires, I said, I wish we'd write him, send him one back to him, we're trying to do something.
Yeah. Yeah, just send Mr. Spencer letter back that we're trying to address it.
Want to be addressed? Yes.
Yes, about the track.
Going back to it.
You wanna talk about the other construction stuff while Bob's still
While
here?
I'm still here, I was going to, see which ones, I'll revisit Mason and renovation. Bob touched on the windows and the roof and that sort of stuff. What we really haven't talked a whole lot about, except in the emails that I've sent you over the last couple of weeks, is the HVAC progress within the building. And there has not been any within the building, and that's because of the positive test that we found in that one area. And that's that hallway down front by the office down the hall, down that main hallway. But there was nothing in any of the other areas. So we had, at our meeting last Thursday, with our progress meeting, came up with a plan. Southern Air is going to begin going night shift work on October 7th. And they're gonna begin replacing the HVAC units in all the other areas, except that area that I just told you. I think it's section B is what I think it's called. I may be it's area B, section B, I think. And B, or B, it's area B. So there will not be any work HVAC wise inside the building in that area until after Christmas time. Christmas time, we plan on having somebody come in, abate that, and that way that's taken care of, and then they can work in that area after Christmas time. But they're gonna start October 7th. They're gonna run shifts 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., probably 4 10s. We need to get this work started and get it done because the warranty on the units, that the equipment is gonna run out if we're not careful before we get it put in. Or it's gonna be a very short period of time that it runs if we don't get it in. So that's the plan on that.
Have we asked them if they start the warranty with the operational?
They start the warranty from the time it ships, 18 months.
Yeah, they quoted us on.
18 months, they quoted us a cost of $110,000 to extend the warranty for a year, I believe. It was a year.
We were kind of just calling it catch-22 there, the grant money, if we didn't spend it by a certain date and didn't get the equipment delivered, we wouldn't have that grant money.
Understand?
So, I mean, I think if we get to the point that they end up getting a delay such that a significant portion of it, is not gonna be done, we maybe reconsider that.
They're planning October 7th, and they've told us, realize, and I think what they were concerned about is in the contract, it talks about liquidated damages and that sort of stuff, and we realize what we've gone through, so they've started the process already to try to help keep that from becoming an issue. So that's why we need to get started as quickly as we can. And that was the date that everybody agreed to last Thursday. And again, so when you go in there, you'll see there won't be ceiling tiles and that sort of stuff because they're going to be working in there. I think they're going to work on the first floor and work up. I believe that's all correct. The windows. You didn't have any pictures from the inside, did you? I was trying to think if I've got a picture of the inside in one of the emails. If I want you to picture the windows on at Macy. The ceiling ran into the glass block and was basically butted up against the glass block and attached to the glass block. So when they took that out, had some of the ceiling tile was removed, but you got a new window now with the dark window up above the ceiling. So it doesn't make sense to run the ceiling tile back into that and have brand new window, the glass, the gray light glass above it. So we are in the process of talking where they come back 4 feet,
You go 2 or 4.
2 or 4 feet back
Yeah.
and slant it up, like Nares Elementary. If you recall, and I really didn't jog me until I went in there. It's slanted up, and it'll go up above where that gray light glass is. It'll provide more light as well, natural light. So we're gonna process it, but that's gonna be a little additional cost as well. But it's something that needs to be done instead of running it straight in back over there and covering up that. So that's something that we're working through now. And I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I can, take you out there and you can kind of see it a little bit better. But again, you've got a block of gray light window, a metal frame of the window, and then another block, rectangle block, and the ceiling was supposed to get that metal support in the window and then leave that, but instead of leaving that above the ceiling, slope it up so that it's all light back within the classroom. Hope that makes sense. So we're working through that process now to try to get that corrected. Now, that's the majority of the rooms. There might be a room or 2 or 3. I'm not sure exactly the number. I think it's 2 or 3. That unfortunately in that area where they took it out, there's also pipes that run in that area. So instead of a slope, it may be boxed. And then cover the pipes with a sock, so to speak, a cover, so that it looks nice with it being exposed that way. Yeah, it's 2 rooms. So that's so we're working through those areas as well.
And I hope they address that if that's an issue at the high schools.
To ensure, to help make sure that we don't have the same issue at Giles, Nares High School, and the Tech Center when we do the roof. We've got a meeting this afternoon with our environmental group, ZMM, ourselves, to make sure they've got the construction documents for those 3 sites. They can review them, our environmental group, they can come in and do samples to make sure that we don't have the issue that we ran into basically prior to getting stuff started and then have to delay things. That way we got it up front. When we bid it, the contractors will know, the contractors will get the report, and they'll have an idea as well. And they are going to do the same thing on the roof at the Tech Center as well. They're going to check the roof just to make sure there's nothing there. And we also told them to make sure both high schools, when they replace that cow wall system, that make sure that the ceiling doesn't do the same thing, that we don't have that same issue. Make sure that's part of the plans as well. And I'm hoping we're getting real close to getting Giles High School and Nares High School and Tech Center out to bid.
Is that still with DOE?
We've got notification back. I think we wanted to see where we stood with environmental group because we wanted to make sure that was in the process when it went out, so that any general contractors that were going to bid would know that information. So I anticipate that process testing will get started soon. I think they're available this week, end of this week, or the beginning of next week. I think it's next week. Within the next 2 weeks, they're going to start doing testing. So that will be hopefully get taken care of and be out of the way. Contractors, if they have any questions, they can get that answered quick. I'm just saying, anyways.
Eastern, what's the plan, timeframe for it?
We haven't really talked to them here lately to see where they, I think they're getting close to having plans ready.
And what's our timeframe after that, to the safe school entries?
That safe school interests are a part of all
Okay.
of each project. So that'll be, so when Giles and Harris go out, that safe school entrance is part of it, that along with safe school entrance, roofing, HVAC, windows, lockers in the locker room, bleachers. I'm missing something, 2 high schools. Auditorium, Harris will be the sound and lighting, Giles will be lighting. Thank you. Tech center is just a roof, Eastern will be the same, will be the safe school entrance, HVAC.
David, I won't sleeping back there, but.
And then we need to also have a conversation next Wednesday about phase 2 of Mason. What are we going, what?
And I think at 100%,
Because I need to move on.
the county's gotta give us some input on that, of what they're projecting and what it is, before we can make a decision. And to remind everybody, phase 2 of Macy, we're at least, I think everyone's on board for replacing the white buildings and the STEM lab and everything else with that. The phase 2 would be, do we add some additional classrooms? And there's 2 options, a smaller one and a larger one, to account for the potential growth from the housing development that's really the Stacy Home place.
And that would be replacing the lower windows as well, the lower section of the glass on the windows there as well.
Do we ever get a cost differential, just in case Mr. Morris wants to know about the safe school entrance, 1 level versus 2? I don't
know that we did. I thought we said that we knew that if it came in too high, we had a way to back it down.
Okay, just make sure, in case that question comes up next week, before we get down the road, just to make sure. And maybe just if they can ballpark what that would save, just so that I know how engineers like ballparking.
We'll ask you a question, get that as well. That way we have that, just have that in the back pocket. And also, at both high schools, we have the elevators.
Cool.
There's elementary's got the windows, yeah. Windows is safe school.
That, I think we don't have any other projects that we're needing, and I think we should do a deep dive with the county on this stuff to make sure they're on board.
What we talked about.
And the other thing was, did we resolve the Eastern Elementary, thought we did last time I talked to John Ross, but everybody's on the same page with the type of cooling system we're using there.
That was right when I was getting ready to go on medical leave. We went to West Virginia, I think it was like the day before I left, and saw a similar system with CMM. I don't know what came of that after.
I believe, from my understanding, John, which I thought he was comfortable with that system. We can circle back and verify that, but I'm pretty sure that was a conversation.
We could push these to get them, because we've got the funds, and I don't want something to happen, the state cut stuff and the county gets ready to go since we've got the green light.
Good point.
Hopefully we'll have a few years not getting emails about classrooms having rain in them.
That's everything project-wise that I know of, except for the light lights at Dallas High School football field that we went out and saw them tested that night. They had a light to repair, and they had, some other lights to install that were lights off the side to help with the lighting around the perimeter. They have not done that yet because they haven't gotten it in yet. They must have either lost some in transit or something got stolen. So they were in transit again. And DCI Showers was working on figuring out where the equipment material was. I've not heard that. I asked them last Thursday, and that I haven't heard back where it is. But as soon as that equipment comes in, they anticipate when they get the equipment to put the lights in, they'll fix every other items as well.
Did it make a big difference?
It's usable. Yes, it's
Did it make a
usable.
big
It was one light at the top of the right pole on the home side.
They haven't fixed it yet.
They were gonna do it all when they fix it, when they came to install the other lights for the perimeter, and they've not been back to that.
How long Coach Williams asked for a dimmer switch on it? Hot that ball.
And they were bright. They were brighter.
Looking forward to seeing it.
They were much brighter. Anything else? Any other questions? Keep moving along. Let's see, you want me to go on the order that we got on the agenda or the order that I've got written down? So
I have what, it'll be fine as long as we don't forget anything.
I can go based on the way it says. We did access roads, Giles High School football, intro to culinary arts, just so you know, as you're aware, both high schools, Giles and Harris High School, currently are teaching the intro to culinary arts. That was approved, I think, April of '23, if I recall correctly. What wasn't approved then was a class fee to help with materials for the class. What I'm asking you to do is right now is to consider, when we bring it to you for official approval, institute a $25 class fee, and that will be for the 25-26 school year.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
No, but you can't vote on it now, but I want you to just to keep that in mind when we bring it to you, because we'll bring a list of, I don't know whether we'll bring just this or we'll bring the whole list of all the class fees, so you can do it all at one time. We'll probably do it all at one time, since it's not gonna be until 25-26 for next year. We'll probably bring them all to you just to make sure we do it all at the same time.
Get it, if you get those to us as soon prior to the meeting, I think everyone might review it, we can deal with some questions that may come up.
Okay.
And I do think, I hate that we have to charge any fee, but I do think that our communities and schools take care of the kids that can't afford it usually. I hope so.
We'll get that list to you, so that you can see it, we'll add that to it as well.
It's a good program, they get it going.
It is a good program, yes, sir. We did the construction update on all the other projects.
While we're kind of still with construction maintenance, what's the status on getting Jim back with theirs, elementary?
Haven't done anything there yet. There's elementary.
No, I'm talking about the back.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said back. We had, the company came in, put something outside to try to, when they bats come out, they can't get back in. They said they recommended us 10 to 14 days to stay out of the gym. They put it in on the 18th, I think it was, so I think 10 days is Thursday or Friday of this week, tomorrow this week. So we're gonna get them back in as quickly as we can.
We really need to get a plan to do something like that, because if, you think about that happening on high schools. I know we knew about it for a while. It took a while to figure out what it is before school started, so we lost that time. But if we have that and it takes us 5 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks to figure out what we're doing, you've lost 4 weeks of basketball games and 4 weeks of volleyball games and.
Can you imagine not being able to practice volleyball?
We had to get, we got quotes, and quotes were not,
We're probably coming from the annex, the heel end of
so
the.
I understand.
Well, and even if that's something that we need to, I mean, cause I don't know, Phil, if you're saying more, but it seems like bats, you hear a lot more bats getting in.
Here lately,
Yeah. I think we ought to need to look at establishing a relationship and maybe having a contingent contract with somebody, because again, that would be my fears, you know, if you're 2 weeks when they actually do it, and if we've got to put it out to bid, you're talking a month or more that these kids, and we don't have, you know, gym space.
We didn't have to put it out for bid, we felt it was gonna be underneath a certain amount, we put it out, just got quotes from this to make sure we had comparable. We only had 2 that responded back.
See if we can.
We can,
That would be the gym lying around.
The gentleman who's doing the work estimated between 5 and 10. So I didn't know this, but bats, I think I'm telling you correctly, when bats are a protected species.
Yeah.
And apparently you can only remove them during certain periods of the year. And which luckily we were within that period that, when I say remove, the device he installed allows them to fly out. It will not allow them to fly back in.
So we were in that period, we
We were
were
in that
over.
period.
Well, and it may be something too, if we need to assess, y'all think about it, but if we need to assess that somebody coming in and sealing up, I know we're going through some construction project, but at least the auditoriums and the gymnasiums and the gymnasiums in all the buildings and then the auditoriums in the high schools, that would be,
Prevent,
yeah, I mean, it's,
prevention.
I mean, can you imagine the you know, we talk 5 to 10,000 to get them out, can you imagine what you lose a month basketball games?
You say to make sure the annex too.
If you sit, I always sit down there on the stands for football games,
Like that, KJ.
yes. There's plenty back. Just be a small one, see.
other items on anything with construction updates.
Thank you, Mr. Sheila.
Thank you.
Crisis plan certification, as you know, each year you get updated copies of the school crisis plans. Those were sent to you last Thursday, I believe they were by email. We need to certify by this Friday that you all reviewed them and that sort of thing. So unless you all have any concerns that are voiced today, we'll work on doing that by Thursday of this week.
You need us to certify anything formally, email?
Have not now, I believe some of that, just as long as the consensus is that you're comfortable with them. And I've not heard anything from any of you in emails, any different, so. Okay. School nutrition update.
So we started off this year, beginning of the year with a District 7 professional development trainings for Washington County that was provided by the Virginia Department of Education through Chef's City. All of our managers participated in that, and it was a hands-on portion and a lecture portion. It was a really interesting professional development. I think there was like over 20 dishes prepared from scratch, hands-on, activities. They had a professional chef there doing that, who was trained in school nutrition. You can just see, you can see the first picture there. That's the first group that broke us into two groups. I was in the first group that was a hands-on portion, and you can see in the last picture there, that is Mrs. Kennett and Mrs. Skeens actually preparing one of our dishes there. It's called shawarma potatoes. They focused on using fresh ingredients, which we have access to, and preparing those and what it would take to prepare those. So it was a long day, but it was a very productive day. We followed that up with a school division professional development held at Giles High School on the 13th of August. I had Kathy Hicks, who is a retired school nutrition director from Bristol City. She assisted last year with our professional development, and this year she assisted again. Basically our professional development with all of our staff mirrored our District 7, or Division 7 training, and we talked about topics about receiving and inventory levels, portion control, utilizing USDA donated foods daily, product waste, salad bar setup and prep. So that was a day-long training as well. You can see from the two pictures there, Kathy was actually doing a portion control demonstration, and that was very interesting. What she did was, we had a number 10 can of applesauce, has 26 servings in it, and she kind of went through two scenarios where you just kind of dip it out of the can, put it in the cup. She only got 16 servings, but she showed the staff the technique that you just simply just bang it on the side, or if you just even that spool out, you get your full 26. Well, 10 servings over a lifetime, over 180 days of any product, you're going to run into money. So we focused, one of our challenges last year was our profit and loss. So this year we were really focusing on utilizing everything that we possibly can utilize to maximize our profit. So that's where our professional development was aimed at this year. We will continue that. Kathy and I have talked. I've talked to other school nutrition directors in the area. One of the recommendations that Kathy made to us, and we're still looking into, is instead of going from a 4-week cycle menu to going to a 2-week cycle menu. We're still looking into that, and the reason why we may shift to that, it's not going to shift anything, but in terms of inventory control, one of the things that was really stressed at the state level and the local level this year was inventory control and keeping those numbers, keeping our inventory as low as possible, because that's basically money sitting on the shelf. Also, we discussed utilizing our USDA donated foods, from produce to the meat type products and the cheese type products. That is money that we have from DDOE to utilize, and we need to utilize that 100%. So we're going to constantly be looking at that this year to make sure we're maximizing that. I've made a few suggestions to our managers. One of the things when we do get our USDA produce is that sometimes, like we order salad mix, which is a romaine blend. And we all know from going to the grocery store, if we buy a bag salad mix, sometimes it doesn't stay good for long. So my recommendation is to utilize, we can buy a whole head romaine lettuce. It is just a little bit more prep, but we also went through some techniques about prepping items on one day and extending their life for service. So we're looking at anything we can to maximize our profit this year. So the other thing that we did on the 21st is we sent out a Facebook message to make sure we got that message out that CEP, we're all still CEP schools, and that all students receive 1 free breakfast and 1 free lunch each day. There's also some discussion in Division 7 or Area 7 about a study of how much parents can save by utilizing CEP. So I'm checking on that to see if I can get some information from that and maybe put a graphic together that would let parents know, hey, you're saving this much per year by utilizing free lunches and breakfast at our schools. So I'm still working on that. David and I have had conversations about, I know last year he wanted some information on, profit and loss and projections. So David he's put together some information for you, and that is the second handout you received. And I will let David go into the detail on that. He and I discussed that this week. Offered some feedback to him back on that. I think it was discussed with Dr. Argas as well, but I'll let him go into some detail on that handout.
I'll keep it brief. We'll go through it, and then at the end, it'll all kind of come together as far as why I'm giving you the context of this information. I know you've asked for a break-even point. This is kind of a start to that. So it's an evaluation of this year's first week of school compared to last year's, how we're performing since they've started doing the work, and then kind of where we need to go from here in order to meet that break-even point. So the first page is just your overall meals. Every school but one served more total meals than they did last year for this year's first week of school. For breakfast, lunch wasn't as good, but usually lunch has more participation rate. 2 schools trended up heavily, while 1 school was about even, and the other 2 schools trended down. A la carte sales, you're going to hear a lot about a la carte sales throughout the presentation. That's kind of a gist of where they were for the first week of school. Only 1 school was trending up for a la carte, and that's something that will be pushed in the other schools heavily. And you'll understand why soon. The next page, this is just your average daily participation. This doesn't include preschool numbers, so you'll see these numbers go up a little bit more because preschool wasn't there the first week of school. So those numbers were taken out of the enrollment. So a district average for breakfast was 46%. As you can see, there's 1 elementary school that's still trending very high, and then the high schools are only at 24.5% on average for them. For the high schools, the a la carte was at $70 and $88 for the first week of school, with their participation being as low as it is. As long as they're getting some kind of sale during the morning, it can offset that participation average for the high schools. For lunch, numbers look a lot better as far as participation. Overall district average is 65%. A la carte is typically better during that time. So hopefully we'll see that continue to go up. Any questions as far as participation meal served up to this point? Okay. If you will turn to the page with the yellow on the chart, the total break-even numbers. Pretty much our participation is usually about 45% on average for breakfast, 55% on lunch of what we've done in the past. So I've kind of based these numbers off of this just to kind of give you the ugly picture of just the federal reimbursement rate alone. It's not taking into account a la carte numbers, it's not taking into account state numbers. This is only what we get for federal reimbursement. In order to do that, with our projected expenses at $1.8 million as of right now, we would have to serve 431,000 breakfast meals as a district and 335,000 lunch meals as a district if we go off of what we've trended in the past. There's only 402,000 possible meals to be served as a district with our current enrollment. So there's no way in reality that we could ever go off of just the reimbursement rate from the federal that we get. If we look at a different way, we do like a 50-50 split and say every child that comes in, they get lunch and a breakfast completely. In order to cover our costs, we would have to see 92% participation rate for both breakfast and lunch. That's 2,068 students. With absences, you're not going to have 2,068 students in your buildings every day. So the reality is, without a la carte and without the additional funding, you're never going to be able to break even just with that federal reimbursement rate. And that relates back to our ISP number that's given to us through DSS and just the calculation that they use. So instead of $4.35 for reimbursement, we're only getting $3 a lunch. Instead of $2.75 or about for breakfast, we're only getting $1.91. And that just, it's not fair. In my opinion, if the state's gonna push it, they should kind of come up with that difference. It would be nice, but this is our reality.
So our ISP number roughly is 62% of our lunches are reimbursed at the full rate. The other 38% are reduced, reimbursed at like 52 cents. And when, like David mentioned, when you average it out, it's like three something a lunch and dollars.
How's that number calculated?
That's through the USDA. It's a federal calculation. It's based on our free reduce, or our direct certification numbers that came from DSS. So we, every month, we will be uploading our direct cert, what they call direct certification numbers. And the more accurate we can be with that information, the better. We might move our ISP number up.
Who's that for? I mean, is that something that we need to work with DSS on? Is that something on our side?
It comes automatically from DSS. So it is automatically uploaded to the Virginia Department of Education, and we have to go through, it comes to us and we upload it to them monthly. And then one of the things that we can do, and we started doing last year, is you're pretty much set with what DSS sends you. I mean, you go through, you check it, if there's any indiscretion or any discrepancies, you fix it. But what we can concentrate on at our school level is if we have any foster children, any kids come in that are loaded up, anything that falls into homeless, we need to make sure they're being entered into our school system accurately so we can claim that. Basically, the state is saying anything and everything that you can do to make sure that information is accurate will potentially affect your ISP number.
Well, I think what it sounds like too is we rely on DSS to make sure they're maximizing everything they can. I do think it's worth somebody going to talk to DSS, understanding what, I don't understand what that number is, but making sure that they're doing everything and capture everything because it directly affects us.
So we kind of tried to entertain that conversation last year at some point. I think we had discussions, our preliminary discussions, we mentioned it a little bit with our local DSS, but this comes from the state level DSS. But I can check it more. I can check.
But it's what we're inputting locally that gets put. I mean,
I can double.
Yeah, I mean, we really. I mean, if that to me sounds like one of the biggest drivers of our reimbursement. You know what that is, and if we can, we need to at least turn over that stone and see if there's something there.
It ties back to some of our other funding too, but I do know like Lisa, Rachel, and Jason, and Dr. Brown, they have been going through and making sure that they're capturing all those homeless kids, foster kids, anything that would relate. But you're right, if the state could help, that would be amazing, just to make sure that.
But if we can get the county local DSS just to make sure that, I mean, that's a conversation they all have to have with, that shouldn't be a problem.
If you'll turn to the next page with the orange and blue and gray graph, this is your a la carte sales. Without a la carte sales, we cannot function with school nutrition and be either break even or even be profitable. So we have a 3-year trend, FY22, FY23, and FY24, how we ended the year. 3 of the schools on the list, you're going to see a huge drop in a la carte sales for FY24. This is the first year that they went CEP. So daily sales for those schools in FY23 included your lunch sales. So like if a kid brought cash and was buying a lunch and it was $3, that $3 was attributed to daily sales for that school. With CEP, as those kids eat, instead of getting funding through a la carte sales, that shifted to our federal reimbursement because it's free. So they're no longer having that pay. The 2 elementary schools that did trend up, you can see their positive trend from 22 to 23, and and into 24. Huge focus was put on it, especially the tail end of the year last year, and they performed really well. One school was able to attain $54,000 in a la carte sales, and that's pretty impressive for a school cafeteria. So that they're working on it, they're doing really well. The goal would be to see a positive trend for all 5 schools this year as we track it, since we have a year to go off of where all 5 schools were CEP. If you turn to the last page, and this is kind of how everything ties together. So if we include a la carte sales into our break-even analysis, our expenses right now for food costs, labor costs, supply costs, based off last year's numbers, is about $1.8 million is what we'd have to achieve to break even. Last year, we did $152,000 in a la carte sales for all 5 schools. If you attribute that to our reimbursement rate as well, we would have to see an 85% participation rate in lunch sales and a 75% participation rate on a district average in breakfast. If we set that gold standard higher, and let's say every school in the county can achieve that $50,000 benchmark for a la carte sales, it reduces the required percentage that we would have to see as a district for lunch and breakfast. It would reduce it to 80% and 70% respectively. The goal would be to push a la carte sales to make sure that we can compensate for the participation, the lack thereof. Elementary schools are kind of a bigger focus because they're easier to get into the cafeteria. So it's important that, administration, teachers, they're making sure those kids go through the breakfast line, getting provided that meal. And for lunch, it's been suggested that even if they pack, every kid should go through the line. They don't have to eat it, but you can sit here and say, we at least provided that kid a nutritious meal regardless of what is in their little lunchbox. That would help our rate, it would help our participation. Typically, those younger kids wouldn't get as much, so we would make a little bit more money off of those meals. But at the end of the day, the goal would be not only to increase our participation, but to feed the kids. And the reality is, if we don't get to those benchmarks, yes, the high schools will not be able to participate in CEP. It doesn't affect the at-risk kids if we do that. They're still going to get free and reduced lunch. It's going to have the other students pay. And that's the idea behind this program is it's for the community. Dr. Brown mentioned kind of seeing the economic impact it has on the families for these students. And that's why this program is so important to try to make it work. And I preach that, and we've said it about in every one of our meetings. That needs to be the message to our admin and teachers too. This is a huge impact for our community. High schools are very difficult, especially for breakfast, because you've got kids that drive, they probably don't come in until right at the bell, they're in the courtyard, they're in the gym, wherever they are. You can't kind of make those kids go to breakfast. You can compensate with a la carte sales, and then you can compensate with higher participation rates at the elementary level.
Can we get them as they come in the door?
Yes.
We also have breakfast after the bell starts at 8:30.
We need to, I think we need to do that. I think that, I don't think just talking to one of my players yesterday on practice, he was telling me about, 5 little mini corn dogs wasn't enough to feed him. And I said, well, tell my son to go through the line and get his lunch and give it to you. I mean, we need to be encouraging and sharing, because some of these high school kids aren't getting full. We need to talk to the coaches. But the other thing is, if we encourage all these kids to go through the line, even the ones that pack their lunch, there's a good chance you're gonna buy something a la carte. I mean, I remember even when I was in school, if I packed my lunch, I'd go through and get those peanut butter chocolate bars that their high school used to make, pay $2.
Well, and it's gonna come down, we gotta get in our circles and we gotta tell people. Like my nephew started back in there, so I said, you don't have a choice, you're getting your lunch and you're going to breakfast. And even I've got Zach on board, Liz on board, taking Grayson to breakfast. We gotta start pushing it. And in your circles and when you're at volleyball games or whatever, you need to be talking to people.
But really, I think you need to, the high schools, really need to reach out to administrators to tell their coaching staffs to talk to those kids, not just once here at the start of school, but remind them weekly, hey, make sure, because that's the worst thing about it is I see kids that need it and that they're not getting full off of it when we've got, 75 more free lunches sitting out there, 75% more free lunches out there, 60% more. And again, that's gotta be a message that comes, like Melissa said, from us, but also, coaches have the greatest influence on, 70% of the kids in our school that participate in something like that.
Well, one of the things we've been encouraging our administrators to promote, and one of the ways I used to do it when I was principal, I used to do it daily, I'd read the menu and encourage everybody to eat.
Or during announcements.
During announcements. So we've been encouraging them to do that, to grab the kids as they get off the bus and shuffle through the breakfast line, so forth and so on. We'll just continue. I know last year one of the big concerns was menu burnout. We worked really hard to revamp our menu. We'll continue to. There's only so many things in the food school nutrition universe that you can serve, but one of the things we serve, that's when we make the two different menus, the menu for the high school and the menu for the elementary school. So we meet monthly, and I told our managers we might be meeting bi-monthly to hammer these things out and make sure we're on top of these things. Also, Mr. Beckman, I just spoke to you about the DSS. What I was referencing, and it just hit me, it was the EBT cards that we talked with them about, that the local DSS didn't have information on that. It was the states, but we'll reach out to them about what I want to clarify.
Yeah, I mean.
In case somebody was watching, you might reach out to us.
And again, I'm not in any way saying, so in case someone is watching that, our local DSS does a great job. There's a lot of things on their plate. I just, want to make sure that we're maximizing everything we can for the community.
And also, I don't know if you folks realize too, we also will, we're only serving one program now, we serve Head Start. But, we get reimbursed for those meals from Head Start, but unfortunately we went from two programs to one program. So I believe we're only serving Harrisburg location.
Can I ask a quick question? Of the a la carte sales, do we have a good picture of what a la carte items sell the most by school? Like, are we able to analyze that?
I don't want to speak for the managers, but with the discussions that I've had with them, they pretty much know or have a good idea of what sells.
Mm-hmm.
I know at one elementary school, they started selling just pizza,
Mm-hmm.
slices of pizza a la carte, and it worked really well. The big things are the cookies, the drinks. Now, unfortunately, we can't serve Coke, Dr. Pepper, things like that. We gotta serve school nutrition approved drinks.
Yeah, that's good. I'm anti-soda, so I think that's good.
You get that. I did something didn't already. So that's we're gonna explore that a little bit more. I'd like to see them, if possible, to offer, can we do pizza? Can we serve, because you can bake a pizza. Usually it takes 15 minutes to cook these chicken nuggets, to cook pizza, to cook XYZ. So you could have 2 pizzas out on each line or something like that, start serving slices of that in addition. So I plan to discuss that with our managers a little bit more, but usually they have a pretty good idea of what sells.
Okay.
And they've been selling that.
Well, and I know in our elementary schools, they have like lunch monitors, right? It's going around and stuff. I mean, that is something, I know Nares Elementary, Diane's doing that this year, that's something that maybe we could encourage them to do. Like if they see, especially these older kids, they don't have lunch, go and get your tray. I mean, sometimes it's just a little talking with them. I mean, I know, especially breakfast and lunch, they have to have somebody in there that's kind of walking around doing, and I know the teachers know who needs food and who doesn't. I'm sure that they are looking to make sure that they have extra.
It's a little bit of a change. I know, some of the policies used to be, if you packed your lunch, you couldn't go through the line, things like that. We just need to change some things like that and continue to have discussions
I
of
told him I would
encouraging,
anyway.
of correcting. Because, you know, it's just a good resource.
It was an alarm, I turned it on.
So we're doing everything we can to stay out in front of this and do the best we can.
Thanks for those numbers, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you say, like Jason was talking about, the kid didn't fill him up and he told his son to go to the line to get his kid. Can we do something where they can, is it legal to let them go through the line twice?
Well, if they went through twice, they'd have to pay. They only get one.
Even though his son's not eating it?
Oh, no,
I mean, can we do a share?
Well, no, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
Right, a shared
to
table.
me, it's no different,
We talked
to me, it's no different from this bigger
I guess
kid
it's a
going through the
number
line
that
twice and
you're
getting
I mean,
his.
and I go back to the,
Student number,
It's a student
and it's
number.
unfortunately, it's a federal law, so.
I thought we could use tally marks, and as long as it doesn't add up to more than your enrollment is in the day, that you're fine. I mean, your attendance that day. I've read that, I was reading Michigan or somewhere, their guidance on CEP was, you can use tally marks, it's just, you've got to certify that your number of lunches served doesn't exceed the number of your attendance for the day, and that's why.
If we can do that, we have to use them. I'd have to look into that a little bit more. We would have to, my understanding is you'd have to use them at all schools. So you would do away with your point of sale system.
Well, you keep your point of sales for your a la carte, but if you can do a tally mark, and, you know, that's something that, we're not saying we're intentionally allowing kids to go through twice, but if they can, like Philip says, that they're not having to enter an ID number, and as long as you don't exceed your average attendance.
You speed up your lives.
Exactly, well, that's the other thing, a kid that's packing his lunch doesn't want to go through the line in high school because they got, you know, a little time to eat, so if you could speed it up with a tally mark. I mean, I've talked about that a few times, and I think that's the way we need to look at it.
I can look more into that, Mr. Buckland, and have more information for you on that.
Well, just make sure we don't have nobody going hungry, but we don't wanna break the law before we get in trouble.
Yeah.
We won't do that.
One more thing, Dr. Arbogast, on the construction issue. We need to be in communication with Head Start. We need to talk with the county about that building. I know we talked about it before, we kind of broke for the summer, but those type of things will be upon us before we know it. And I think this is the year we're getting the COVID babies, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I mean, it is like concerning that so many kids that don't get into like preschool. Like I've heard that concern, you know, kids that didn't get to go to preschool, or, you know, the one closing down was.
Now, and it sounded like when I spoke with the lady, they were very interested. I mean, they liked that building, but I think.
got work done to it. We used to start.
But even if they don't, trying to figure out how we do that too. I mean, I think there's enough kids on the western end that you could easily have enough preschool. Needs to be done.
Policy revisions, you were provided the packet for updates that we'll bring to you in 3 weeks to approve, or 2 weeks, whatever the date for the board meeting. Officially, that you have to review, see if there's any questions or things that you need to answer.
I just like how we revised one in May and then revised it again in August.
Nicotine patches. I don't know.
SAD wanted to know if they could hand out nicotine testing kits to parents. And there's SAD program has that.
What was that again? And tell me that one more time.
The SAD organization wanted to know if they could hand out nicotine testing kits to parents to see if their kids are vaping.
That's Students Against Destructive Decision Making.
requirement for that? Like, does it have to be like parents sign off on that? What, I mean,
They want to give them to parents, not to kids.
Oh,
Give
they
them
wanna
to
give them
parents
to
to
the
test
parents.
their kids. To see if they're
so
baby,
it's a tool that parents would,
could use to see if their kids are baby.
What's the administration's recommendation?
I mean,
Or
I
do you
guess
have-
like, those the parents who are trying to find out what's going on.
Is this something SAD would be funding, like they're purchasing these kits, or does it come from the national organization? Like, is this a part of their national initiative? Like,
They asked me in the hamburger line at the tailgate, so
Gotcha.
they didn't, we
Right,
didn't
right,
go into a lot
Let's
of
get some more
detail.
detail.
But, the sponsor just wanted, as a project, because they're trying to help cut down on vaping in schools. And
Yes.
they thought, if they handed these kits to parents, then parents could check to see if their kids are vaping.
We all know vaping is a problem.
Now, where they get their kits, I don't know. I don't know where they.
I just don't want a kid to get the tar beat out of them on an inaccurate false positive.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I didn't really
more
know
info.
any, I didn't know the feeling, yeah.
Well,
I think it's very simple, that's all they wanted, where they get the kits, I don't know, but that was a project, they wanted to know if they could do that.
but I mean, at least do have to respect that they're trying to.
I like that they're trying.
That they're
Yes.
addressing the issue,
Right,
it's definitely an issue.
because it is definitely an issue.
Mhm.
correct.
I mean, I think our position is if you look at, they get you some more information, feel comfortable with it, I don't see that any of us object to it.
I mean, it's not a forced thing, right? They can hand them out, parents can
Right.
choose to use it or not.
They're offering, they have it, and they are offering their parent with
Yeah.
it, is how they worded it, they want to offer testing kits to parents to see if their kids are baby.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know you could test for that. Like, I guess like a drug test.
It's the cocaine metabolite. That's how they figured out some stuff about the nicotine uptake from secondhand smokers.
Oh, that's interesting.
We'll get more information and then be able to provide.
What
That's-
information would you like?
Well, no, like I said, I think if y'all get the information and you feel comfortable with it, if you feel comfortable with it, go ahead and approve it, but I don't think at the board level.
You don't have an issue with it? I mean, I don't know if I think it's just as simple as that. It's a nicotine kit they wanna hand out and offer it to parents if they would like one.
I like that they're trying to solve the problem.
Okay. So I will tell them that they can't.
Any other questions? All right. Cell phone policy, at some point in time, we're gonna receive what you sent. You received,
Sorry.
the draft guidance that was sent out on August 15th, came to us. You received that, I think I sent that in the morning, the 16th to you, so you had it to review. Basically, in that draft guidance, what it talks about is a cell phone-free education, which means cell phones are not out during the instructional day, bell to bell. Bell to bell is when the first bell rings and the start of the day. That begins instructional time to the dismissal bell at the end of the day. So I didn't want, I've not drafted or looked at other policies from other divisions to craft ours because one, we've got final recommendations will come September 16th. Two, I want to make sure I do where you all are comfortable us proceeding.
Personally, and this is just one board member, I think it makes sense, you draft it based on that final guidance, don't waste time drafting something that may not be compliant with the state, and I think you draft it if you've got issues with what the state guidance is, conflicting with what I think the schools have sort of adopted this year, let us know, or any other issues, and yeah, we'll talk about it then, unless anybody else has any thoughts on it.
What the schools have adopted so far, what they've adopted is it's either 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock or 8:15 to 3:20, depending on the time.
And just for clarification, are all schools doing this the same way, meaning it's phones off in your bag or it's phones on a caddy on the teacher's desk? Like what is it in practical application in the buildings?
What I checked, and I can tell you what each one of them told me.
Okay.
Giles told me, and they posted, upon arriving to school, Giles High School kids will turn off cell phone and AirPods, headphones, whatever it is, and it goes in the backpacker locker from 8:15 to 3:20. Narrows High School, smart cell phones and smart devices are not permitted during instructional time. Devices will be placed in technology lockers or pouches in instructional setting for students to retrieve at the end of class and during lunch only. They're not even having them during lunch only, and during instructional time, so they don't have it at all, because this is what they were gonna do prior to the executive order coming out, so they are not allowing it in between class or during lunch either. I know they purchased, Narrows High School purchased, what I call the old computer calculator pouches that you have hung on your door and you pull the calculator. They had those pouches, and they were gonna use that, but they're supposed to be in their lockers. Narrows Elementary, same thing, cell phones not permitted during the instructional day. Eastern, can use them during the bus hall, but once students report to class, they're off, placed in their book bag, locker, and a basket on the teacher's desk. Macy, on arrival to school, must turn off cell phone and other communication between 7:30 and 3:30. It's either in the locker or the backpack. And the tech center's the same thing, they're not gonna allow them at all, within the building during instruction time.
Oh, dear.
The only other thing I'll bring up, I did get one, teacher in the city area, having an issue with some of the data, having devices they need for data collection and maybe not having tablet, iPad. We just need to make sure that, I think we've got enough tablets or stuff floating around that we can.
We're a one-to-one division, so everybody should have some device, Chromebook, something.
Well, I just think, I think it's gonna be more of an issue in potentially some of the CTE.
We're not bringing with them.
Yeah, well, and, just the ruggedness of.
And I've got a question, maybe it's not for here, but, and I need to read through this in more detail, but are there any metrics being tracked on the other end of implementing this policy? Meaning, are we looking for grade improvement, engagement improvements? Like, we can do this to stop distraction, but like at the district level, are we gonna be looking at any points of data to say, this was really beneficial, this really helped our students?
I don't know of anything, I've not heard of that being asked of us to quantify.
Yeah.
Sadly, I hope, I'm sorry, they was not using phones to cheat.
Well, and that's it. Like, I'm interested to see what impacts come of it, right? Like, we know the social impact of distraction in the classroom, bullying, sending pictures, all of that sort of thing. But I'm just wondering, is removing this distraction going to help us have better academic outcomes? Like, that's hopefully on the other end of a policy, not just.
Well, you hope that, but we're realistic enough to know that in the past, they've used them to cheat.
No, I'm
If
sure.
we sit there and say they have.
No, I'm sure they have.
So I think it's going to be a very big adjustment. I think you're gonna see some.
Have we heard a lot? Have you gotten a lot of phone calls down here about the policies going into effect? Any parents?
I have not, which is surprising.
I've only had two
I've
or
heard
three.
more positive, but I've heard a lot of positive about hoping to see kids engaging with each
Yes.
other again.
Yeah.
And conversating with each
Breaking
other
the addiction.
again.
Mhm.
The only thing probably I would say is you might see them coming in a little more tired, especially morning, because I feel like if they're participating in extracurricular activities, they're probably staying up at night a little bit more on their phones.
Catching up.
catching up. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that, but I'm just thinking maybe that might be something to be happening, but, I mean, I love it, honestly.
Oh, I think it's
I think
wonderful.
it's a great thing, and then, you know, maybe the only thing in an emergency, well, if there's an emergency, you get up with your kid. And, God, or what if it's a lockdown or something, a school shoot, well, guess what? I'm sure if it's something major like that, you're gonna be allowed to get your phone out. You know, hopefully we'll never have
Yeah.
anything like that, but there's always,
Those
you
are
find
the,
solutions.
the only three-ish complaint or worries, rebuttals I had were, what if there's an emergency, you're not gonna take my kid's phone, that sort of thing.
Well, it's like back when we were in school, we didn't have phones.
We didn't.
Call the office.
That's
Call the
right,
office.
that's right.
You call the office.
And honestly, it's just like the thing that just boils my blood every time that there is a lockdown and the number of parents that just run out, or the number of people calling me saying, hey, what's going on? I'm like, well, I don't know. Dr. Arbogast will call us and inform us as soon as the
If we need
situation's
to
under
know.
control. I mean, it's they gotta understand that, so.
So you have to trust the process.
Right now, I don't think they're tracking academic process, it's more of the social emotional
Okay,
engagement and so.
that's exactly what I wanted to hear, is are we wanting
high
to
school.
see an academic impact, or is this more social emotional engagement?
They're targeting more social emotional right now, like the high school, I know Giles High School told me they're, at lunch, wanting to purchase ping pong tables and
Yes.
things like that, and that, they've been asking and interviewing the students, and they're like, well, it was hard for the first couple of days, but I tell you right now, it's cut down on a lot of drama.
Drama, yeah, I love it.
I think so. I love it too.
One of the PE teachers said that they were amazed because there was a little downtime in PE and the kids didn't try to get their phones out. They were actually sitting and talking to each other, and they were talking to each other at lunch. So I think that the social emotional part will lead into academic, but the high schools, I think, are focusing more on social emotional at this time,
Thank you.
is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We'll work on drafting something, and around the time that the new final guidance comes out, make sure that what we crafted looks to meet that, and then we'll present it to you. It's something I failed to do because I didn't include it there, but I want to make sure I go back and do it. Just so you know, our enrollment as of last, I'll do it 2 dates, last Wednesday, the 21st, we were at 2199. That's 2,189 in person and 10 virtual. And we had 1,311 stride non-residential, so we had a total of 3,510. As of yesterday, Monday, we had 2,183. So you can see Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, of last week, gave an opportunity to clean up, make sure kids that there were no shows, that they were removed, et cetera. So 2,183, 2,171 in person, 12 virtual, and we have 1,360 stride. That's a total of 3,543. I anticipate that stride number should increase significantly over the next couple of weeks.
How many kids do we have living out of county, coming into the county? Out of county students?
I'd have to pull that and tell you, Jay.
That's fine, I just, can you get changed? I'd like to know.
You're not, we can pull that.
Usually about 100.
I was gonna guess 100, 115, but I'd rather than tell you exactly what it is.
Usually about 60 from Monroe County and about 50 or 60 from Craig,
Great.
or back other places, Virginia places.
I'll get that for you, we'll get that to you.
When you get changed?
I received information, and I don't know if you read in the Roanoke paper, I think it was August 9th, so a couple weeks ago. There's a group that Montgomery County Public Schools is working with, the Gun Aware Project. Saw the article in the paper. Again, it was August, I think it was August 9th.
You said Montgomery was doing this?
Montgomery County. Montgomery County School continued, this was Roanoke, I think it was August 9th, Roanoke paper, Gun Aware Project, where they were giving out, the intent of this is to educate people about gun safety, mental health, suicide prevention programs, et cetera. They reached out to us, to me, sent this information and wanted to know, and it was formed after the shooting deaths of those two students in Montgomery County. So I didn't want to set up a meeting and bring something to you without first having a conversation with you. Is it something that you'd be interested or want to have additional information? Because they also are partnering with this Gun Aware Project, is partnering with Be Smart, which is a national campaign as well, and they're handing out gun locks at functions. And again, it's not the intent. They would ask for a resolution to be passed by the board as well. The resolution basically says that it's promoting awareness, it's putting out information, partnering with them, et cetera. It's not condoning one way or the other or anything like that. It's my understanding from what I've read here. I've not talked to them and did not want to go down that road if you all were not interested in us pursuing it.
Well, I think we need to try to do it. My opinion, at least is have a class and require everybody to go through it. We've had the same issue here for close to every job, so. All we can do to get the message out to these kids is do it.
So it looks like the actual resolution is just about notifying parents of their responsibility to safely store the firearms.
Correct, that's all that resolution.
It's not an advocacy or education towards young people. It is an awareness campaign, an awareness acknowledgement
Correct.
to the adults in the community.
Correct.
I don't see anything wrong with
That's
that.
all it talks about, it talks about the number of children under the age, and then it just talks about awareness. It says that the board, will increase awareness among families, provide information, they'll put a letter together and post it, put it out. Again, it's promoting awareness, that's all that it's doing, to promote awareness. Again, that's my understanding from reading and reading the same thing that you've read. Reading what's in the paper.
As far as the kids go, how do we stand with the hunter safety courses? Because I think we kind of dropped the ball last year.
No, they haven't. It was just later in the year because they had trouble with the instructors, but Rusty Castile at Macy and, Mr. Benson retired. So it was the Jeff Pease or something like that, I can't remember his name, and Rusty, but it just took a little longer because of lack of instructors, but they're gonna do it through 7th grade, and Rusty's already contacted me.
And all the elementary school.
It's gonna be 7th grade at all the elementary schools.
I seemed like I talked to somebody last year when it was coming out of there's elementary from doing that.
Yeah, they did it in March last year.
Yes, they did. I was gonna say it was the spring, because I remember
Yeah.
talking to them. I was picking up Grace when they were leaving the building.
Yeah, and
Because
they
I
were,
thanked them for it.
the holdup was getting the instructional materials from the
Yeah, I knew he
DNR.
was having trouble getting that.
Yeah, so once we got that, and then we started the instructors, it was like Macy, Eastern Areas or something like that, so they did also great out of it. That's great. Yeah, and Rusty's already contacted me about setting up, what he's trying to do is, train more instructors. That's our holdup, it's just there's nobody to do it, and plus with Mr. Benson retired, it makes it a little bit harder. He's willing to help, he's just not.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm sure he probably would help, he just don't wanna
Correct.
take the role, the lead role, it's like he had to.
He was there that day, so I remember talking to him.
Yeah.
And I think,
No,
and I think 4-H also they do a safety day, you know what they call
that's what they're planning to do.
it? And I think and that may incorporate a piece of this as well. During that day. And to answer your question, Mr. Williams, 78 out of county paying students right now.
Thank you.
So if you're comfortable with that, I'll set up a meeting to speak with the representative from that, get additional information. And if I hear this the same, it's awareness, then they still, they partner with this and maybe they want to do some outside activities, gun locks, that sort of stuff. I'll get that information and be able to present that to you at a later date.
And I had an update about the nicotine kits, if anybody wants to. All supplies will be funded through the SAD Club. And, they're going to purchase these nicotine kits off of Amazon. Each kit will include the test of cup and directions. They will be individually wrapped. The SAD Club is going to inform parents that this is an option, but a parent must come to the school and pick it up. There are no kits that will be given to the students to take home.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Like,
How many parents want to know?
right, just,
That's gonna cause some interesting phone conversations.
Yes, see how many.
let's do it.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's a gun thing, and always rub the elephant in the room here, but if it's for safety, I'm all for it, but if it's for advocating against guns, I'm not.
I think, well, all I can share is what I know, just from what I read. And what I read, it sounds like awareness, safety, that's what it, now, again, I'll know better when I sit down and talk to them, but I didn't wanna start down that road and waste time if you all had no interest at all.
It seems like to me they're either carefully straddling the line or they're trying to create the appearance of carefully straddling the line. And I understand if we get down the road that way,
Has a slant.
yeah, we
We stop.
yeah.
And I think that's the way the safety day is, you know, that 4-H is doing. I don't think it's opposing guns. I think it's just they're in our community and let's be safe handling them because it's in conjunction with the police, the sheriff's department.
Yeah, I think if they were, staunchly against it, they wouldn't be handing out gun blocks. So I think that it's good, it sounds like it's just that sort of unbiased, be aware, be safe, because I agree with you, Philip.
With too many kids at the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll clarify that when I speak to her. Along with the conversation we had with cell phones, and we gave you a copy of policy revisions there. There's a couple other policies that I want to mention to you that get on your radar that we probably will be bringing to you as well at some point. One is policy IIBEA-R2. That's our bring your own device program. Don't need that policy really because we're one-to-one school division, we provide devices, Chromebooks or tablets. So there is really, maybe in rare occasions that somebody might need their device, but we had this conversation during our administrative meeting before school started, and they agreed, and it was brought up, don't really need this since we're that one-to-one.
Well, what about that situation where they do bring a laptop that they need, something?
We write it in the technology use plan, policy probably, so that the administrator at school would have to approve bringing that, the need for that being brought, whether it's a project in the class or something like that.
My fifth grader asked me why he had to sign that paper. The one in the gray printed out, we're going through it with him and made him sign it. And he was like, I have to do this, I'm not even allowed to bring my computer. It's like, you make it back.
So I mean, that's.
Well, just make sure that it's covered, that the provisions in there are covered in that situation, so that we don't have a loophole when we do, in the rare occasion, approve something like that.
The other one is in regards to exams. We had a conversation with all administrators again during that back to school meeting. It was part of the conversation of our testing window. If you look at our testing window this year, particularly with us slated to end May 30th, our testing window runs April 28th through May 23rd. So that's the Friday right before Memorial Day, or off Memorial Day, which will be 26th, they'll get the 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. That's 3.5 days after SOL testing is done. The feeling, Ms. Mustang, you correct me if I'm wrong, the feeling was to do away with exams because SOL testing being backed up that far. And I didn't want to pursue that again unless you all had some thoughts, were able to provide those comments to us to see if you all agree or.
What percentage, I mean, do we still have the policy if you get have a certain number of absences?
It was there, but how truly it was actually followed, I can't swear to you, because the exam exemption says you have to have a B average in the course and missed only 3 days.
I mean, how many exams do we actually give at the high school level? I mean, the part of me that understands that when they go to college, they're going to have exams, and in some classes, we'll have to prepare for that. Is saying, I don't like that, but at the same time, as a practical matter, how many of our students, even the advanced students, are taking an exam?
So I feel really strongly that this is a play on words, right? Exams versus final tests and the redundancy of SOLs and those critical like academic courses. Why I don't understand the value in the final exam where we have required SOL testing because it's redundant, right? In a lot of ways. And an educator can certainly choose to deliver a semester wrap-up exam and not, or final test, and not call it an exam, and still make sure that they've got their, consolidated all-in wrap-up. Did they finish everything they needed to finish? So, I don't know, I think it's redundant to have exams, and I think that the policy has enough loopholes in it that educators, if they didn't want to strictly apply what is the exam, if you got a C average or miss 10 days, I don't know, I just.
What about in our CC courses? Do they have mandatory exams or?
I'd have to look to see if we've got anything in the guideline that says NRCC has a final exam. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
You mean just for the dual enrollment courses that are offered here?
I mean, yeah,
I know Giles goes, they followed, I know Sebastian had to take exams because he missed a bunch of school. But the value in that academically, is that, are we just doing that to check a box because we have a policy about it, or is there benefit to the students in taking that exam if they also have SOLs required in those courses?
I could be wrong, but I think Brooke and Caitlin had to take exams for, get through New River, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
well, and that's more the, I mean, that's gonna catch a lot of the students that you wanna make sure that they're getting the college preparedness in that. So, I mean,
Is that the dual enroll they were taking online, or is that the dual enroll with the teacher at the school?
I think it was a teacher's school, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
I think,
I'll have to check and see.
I think I don't think you're gonna have any much objection from us as long as, if there is an academic value, then communicate that to us. And, and with the, it wouldn't be a blanket prohibition of exams. I mean, dual enrollment or those type of things, that is what it is.
I could tell you some things that it would solve.
That what would solve, removing this policy or getting rid of exams?
Getting rid of exams.
What would it solve?
Well, then students are not exempt from exams at the high school level the last week of school, and no one's there, and the elementary schools are continuing to go. Because that's always an issue for the board. I don't think teachers see the value in exams, and I think if a teacher wants to make sure that the student has a comprehensive knowledge of everything they taught, then a teacher could use 2 days of class time to administer a test. I think that's what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
So we're saying the same thing. So if you're wanting to make sure that they have comprehensive knowledge, then the last 2 days of school, give this test and give that test. You don't have to shut down the whole school to give a test. I think it would help Nearest High School because they always struggle with coming back after Christmas, and you've got exams and SOLs, and it's hard, and I think that they're focusing a lot on SOLs, and exams are something that they have to do. So I think that it solves a lot of problems, and both principals are in support of it because they feel like their teachers do not see the value in exams any longer.
Well, I think that's enough said from my perspective. If both administrators who are in the building are saying that the teachers don't see the value in it, then I don't think it makes a ton of sense for us to step in and be like, oh, well, we need this policy to reinforce attendance, right? That's essentially what that policy circles around to, is we're gonna dangle the carrot, because nobody wants to take exams and be there when a lot of their friends aren't, to get you to show up to school. And that's a punitive way to enforce an academic action.
Well, that dates back before we had SOLs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
And
correct.
I don't think that they see that it has, like, the exam exemption policy. I think, oh, these kids are gonna come to school because they don't wanna take an exam. The students are gonna miss 10, 15 days. They're gonna miss 10 or 15 days, whether they have to take an exam or not. And so it might hurt your other students who maybe they've missed 5 days because they had COVID, or 6 days, and they're a good student in academic standing, but they still have to, come and take an exam. So I think it solves a lot of problems for a lot of different schools.
Yeah, great. Bring that to us with your recommendation.
We support solving problems.
And then everybody goes to school the last day, it's like,
I'm still there the last 3 days.
right.
And just so you know, we're going to publish, I think we started last year or the year before, putting out there with our budget information, the miscellaneous pay rates that we do for substitutes, 4-year degree, high school, long-term sub, paraprofessional, it's $85 a day for high school diploma substitute, $105 a day for 4-year degree. School nurse, $100 a day, cleric's $85 a day, transportation's $50 a trip, $13.50 an hour for field trips, food services $12 an hour. Extra duty pay, that's teachers after school tutoring, teachers for homebound, driver's education to be more coordinated, to be more along the same lines, and to make sure we're getting people $30 an hour. And then the summer school is teachers $30 an hour, lead teachers 25, teacher assistants 20.
Make sure your sub makes that has that change from honorable discharge that we made.
Did you get a lot new for substitutes this year?
Maybe I'll
About the
check.
same.
About the same, yeah, I'm working on several applications now that have come in.
4-year degree / military honorable discharge.
Yeah.
Do you want to set?
I just wanted you to be aware when it goes out, because it's the all-in spending money, that we still have utilized, but we need to be a little more aware of how it's.
Just make sure people understand too, that change is not retroactive. They need to let us know beforehand.
That's 24-25, go to the school year. That's all I have.
So that was, people doing homebound, right? That's
Teacher at school, homebound, and drivers did all $30 an hour. Anything else on this?
That helps. We do,
We have more than you think.
we already have 8.
We have 8 new students on homebound.
A weekend, second week.
Wow.
We got more than you think.
Do you have trouble getting
Yes.
to do that?
Yeah.
Kind of surprised. It's really,
Yeah, it's a lot. I think it's 8, it might be 5 or 8, it's, I don't know, yeah, more than what we thought.
More than one, less than 10.
Yeah, the only other thing I could share with you, just update you, we really don't have an update, is what we talked about with the church there next to Macy about their work they're gonna do in the parking lot. I've not received any drawings or anything like that, but I don't see an issue them connecting the parking lots, because they're gonna let us use that during the week, and they'll use ours during the weekend, so.
Good neighbors.
Oh, can I ask a question? Is there an update on the STEM lab at Macy?
Well, as far as.
As far as I know, at open house, there was it was nothing. There was nothing built out, there was no furniture or anything like that. Do we know when that'll be?
I know everything's been ordered.
Oh, it has,
All the
okay.
Furniture's been ordered, I think it's just waiting on.
Yeah, it's
Waiting
just
on
stuff
delivery.
coming in with everything, yeah,
Okay.
Stuff coming in.
yeah,
It's like
really nice
Christmas.
furniture and
yeah, I was
stuff.
gonna say, it'd be like Christmas.
Yeah.
And I know the STEM teachers met and they've already made, TSA plans and things like that, so
You
I
can
know
look
that there's a lot of.
up at your seat, I know the STEM teachers, they met they printed off something, using was it Glowforge, the laser printer, I believe. I
Yeah.
think that's what they use. So that's each of your seats as well for you. And if you look here in the conference room as well, there's a set of, coasters that they did the same thing on. You can look at them, there's Macy, the Tiger, and then Eastern, the Eagle. and-
That's awesome.
and each school, and then all of us, and then just like that for all schools. So yeah, that's
Yeah, right
what they. So that's just things that we're excited and
Nice.
they're just getting ready, and they're looking forward to getting them out, and getting ready to go, but it's gonna be, again, waiting on the
Yeah, it's like,
equipment to get there, the tables and desks and that sort of stuff to get there.
exciting.
We're piling up.
You have some more, do you wanna go to closed session to talk about religious exemptions, so you can bring those forward if you so.
Yeah, let's do that, and I want to talk about a couple personnel things.
Otherwise, that's everything that I know to have for you in open session.
We didn't advertise this as a vote session, so we can approve this to the next meeting.
Really.
Should. Can I get a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the Virginia Code with respect to, personnel and students' privacy issues, I think.
I make that motion.
All in favor? Aye. We'll try to new room.
Yeah, was there anything we need to do with this?
Just review it. That is